Hey guys, how's it going? My name is CC5454, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the SMR grenade launcher from Titanfall 2. I know a lot of people consider this one of, if not the worst gun in the whole game, but in this video I want to show you that this gun can actually be used with some of the best of them. It is possible to get high score games and rack up some big kill streaks with this weapon. I'm going to be going over the gun's strengths and many weaknesses. But I'm also going to talk about how you can overcome those weaknesses and create a loadout that can turn this gun from one of the worst into one of the best. With all that said, let's get into it. So a long time ago I decided that I was going to force myself to use every gun in the game and learn how to use all of them in the best ways possible. And one of these weapons that surprised me was the SMR. It is actually a very fun gun to use and fits right in with my aggressive playstyle. I've actually somehow gotten over 2,000 kills with it over just the past bit here, bringing it up to par with most of my SMGs and assault rifles in terms of playtime and kills. So why do I like the SMR, and how is it that I've made it one of my go-to weapons for attrition? For starters, the SMR has one of the best power stats in the game and a crazy fast time to kill. With its high rate of fire and damage, it seems like a no-brainer for close quarters fights. But if I were to list its upsides, that's where that list would stop. While it does have a great rate of fire and some awesome damage, it has a very slow projectile speed, which makes it hard to land shots when you're trying to track enemies and use it at long ranges. Even after using it for this long, I myself have troubles sometimes anticipating where my shots are going to be landing. This is also because of the visibility of the missiles. When aiming down sights, the smoke trails from the SMR can sometimes blind you from your actual target, causing you to miss even more. The SMR also, like all grenadiers, has a fairly small mag size, which will leave you reloading halfway through most of your engagements. With all of this pointed out, it's no wonder why people stay so far from this gun. But there are many ways to overcome all of the SMR's downsides. While it has a lot of weaknesses, it does have some strengths, so let's start with those. Its power and rate of fire makes it a logical choice for close range fights, and after using it for a bit you will notice how fast it can just shred through pilots in those tight spaces. Knowing that, you're going to want to be using this gun up front and personal. I'd stay clear of the larger open maps and stick to some of the more fast-paced ones like Dry Dock, Glitch, and Complex. Those are some of the maps that I've found that my SMR loadout just excels at. As well as staying close to your enemies, you're going to want to get around the gun's slow projectile speed and tracking problems. You want to have a good movement system when using the SMR. Always being on the move and keeping quick will help you stay that one step ahead of your opponents, letting you anticipate their movements and actions with better accuracy. This means taking advantage of walls, bunny hopping, and air strafing. So basically, you need to learn the movement system better than you might already know it. The most important dynamic to it, in my opinion, is the wall running. Having the height advantage on your opponents will help out the SMR to land its shots with a lot more accuracy, and it's going to force your opponent to track you from below, and that'll leave them ground locked and vulnerable. It's also way easier to track enemies when you're using projectiles when they aren't flying around in the air. In a nutshell, stay on the offensive, keep moving, and try to maintain control of the walls and high ground. It will give you such an advantage over other players. I'd actually compare this playstyle to how someone would use an EVA 8, getting close enough to take control of its power and helping you to land those shots a lot more accurately. Now, using the SMR against pilots is only half of why I love this gun so much, because it is actually a monster against Titans. The SMR can help decide the turnout in almost any attrition match. When using the SMR, I find that I almost never switch to my anti-Titan weapon, because the SMR is able to do just as much damage, and sometimes more. One thing that's also great is that the SMR attracts a lot less attention from Titans, unlike a regular anti-Titan weapon would. Lasers, lock-on signals, and big electric orbs, they always seem to grab any Titan's attention. The SMR though is a lot harder to notice. It's like that mosquito that always seems to bite you right before you notice it's even on your arm. I'm sometimes able to take on a Titan just as a pilot and yet still come out on top. The spammable missiles give a lot of leeway when you're trying to stay on the move while running, just trying to avoid a Titan's fire. I think it is a great choice to be using when giving friendly Titans assistance or when you're trying to reenact the Battle of David and Goliath. So we know that the SMR can be used as a close-range powerhouse and as a primary anti-Titan weapon. But what else can we use to boost our SMR loadout? I'm going to show you guys my personal loadout and how I've perfected it to my own playstyle. So it might give you guys some ideas as to what you can use or how you might make the SMR a little bit better. I'll also talk about what other things I've experimented with when working towards this final loadout. Okay, there we go. Sorry, it took me like 20 minutes to get my internet to work enough just to look at my loadout. So it's right here. Alright, so in terms of my tactical, I of course use Stim. It's kind of a no-brainer for the SMR, because you need that movement, that speed. But another good one would be Grapple. I personally would recommend Stim the most, but you can do whatever you want. I mean, you could even go AWOL if you're ballsy or noobish enough, I guess. But yeah, I would recommend Stim, maybe Phase Shift. Yeah, Stim or Grapple or Phase Shift, I would recommend, but mostly Stim. My grenade, I use Firestar most of the time, but I do use some frags. When I do use the frags though, I notice that I sometimes rely on them a bit too much. It's like Paper Cut with his frags, you just can't use anything else. So I sometimes go to a Firestar just to force myself to use the SMR a bit more. I used to use the Arc Grenade quite a bit because it helped slow down my opponents, so then I was able to find them a bit easier with my projectiles. Gravity Star is the same thing, but I find that sometimes it just doesn't work out as many times, so Arc Grenade I find gives me a little bit more help. Electric Smoke is kind of shit, so I wouldn't even touch it. And Satchels, if you're going meme loadout, then sure, go with that. As for attachments, those are the two important things that I think are what make the loadout so special. One of them, I of course use Extended Mag. You could use Fast Reload, I guess, as well, but I don't know, I think the mag is just not big enough sometimes for some engagements, especially if you miss quite a few of your shots like I do sometimes. So I go with the Extended Mag definitely because it helps me win a lot more fights. Tactical, it's like a no-brainer for almost any loadout, but especially for this one because I want my stim like all the time. So every time I get a kill, I want to be able to stim away or use it for the next person there. Sorry if my character's glitching everywhere. It's the lag here at my college. If you don't want to use the tactical, speed loader is definitely another good one. The reload speed is quite long on the SMR, but sometimes I find that the stim is quite a bit of a help because it gets you that extra movement while you're trying to reload. Aiming down sights is not too useful unless you're someone who needs to ADS, but the smoke trails kind of makes it a bit hard, so that's why I don't do it. Gun runner, I'd say that's a good choice if you're not too good with the movement system, like wall running or slide hopping or air strafing. That's definitely a good way to get ahead of your opponent if you're not too good with it, but I would definitely recommend the two that I have. But that doesn't mean that it's the only way. You can do whatever you want. But I'm definitely going to judge you if you don't use these two. Quick Swap, I honestly don't see why anyone would ever use that on primary. Of course, I got my pro screen, got to show off those kills with the SMR. Got the masterwork, because what else would I use? Wingman, just my preference, just because I think it's funny, and it's satisfying to actually kill someone with it. I would go Re, because it's, in my opinion, the best option, or the Hammond if you got a quick trigger finger, but you can do whatever you want. It doesn't really, I wouldn't rely on your pistol too much with this loadout. The SMR is what you're going to be using. As for my anti-Titan, this one's actually quite important, but not in terms of Titans. So if you watch any of Paper's videos, you might know that the two of us, we like to use the charge rifle against pilots quite a bit. And that's actually one of the key things in this loadout is sniping. Oh, there he goes again. So when you can't get close enough to your opponent with the SMR, the charge rifle is actually a really good way to use it to extend your range with the loadout, I guess. So if there's like someone using a Spitfire or a G2 that's bugging you, you just pop them off with this once because they typically have their feet glued to the ground. I wouldn't use any of the other ones because your SMR is basically going to be your anti-Titan weapon. So the anti-Titan slot in this loadout basically becomes like the sniper for your charge rifle. I think it's like the best way to use this loadout. But if you're not comfortable using that, or if you don't think you're going to be able to land a shot at all, then by all means choose something else. But I do think that the SMR is a really good way to take on Titans, so I would go with that. As for my kits, I said before that I like using my stim all the time, so I have Power Cell to help me out with that. Another good choice would be Ordnance Expert if you're doing something like a Gravity Star or an Arc Grenade, because that would help you out really. That would really help you out if you're trying to like just get that little extra, just get that extra push on your enemies. Fast regen, that's another good one, because with your SMR you're going to be taking quite a bit of damage, believe me, because it's let's be honest, it's a terrible gun, but this loadout's definitely a good way to make it better. But fast regen, that's a good way to get your health back a lot sooner, I think. Phase Embark, I mean, sure, if you want to use that. That's good for Last Titan Standing mode, actually, which I know is one of the reasons people only use the SMRs for LTS. So Phase Embark, that's a really good way to use that. It helps you get the batteries. For my kit number 2, Low Profile is, in my opinion, the only one that you should be using with this loadout. Because the SMR is so good against Titans, you're going to want that extra sneak when you're going against Titans. That helps you to climb on them, get the batteries without them knowing. I think it just adds to the whole general kind of idea of this loadout. Kill Report. I personally don't see much of a use for this, because you're going to be the one that's making all the kills, so someone else with this perk is going to see the trail that you're leaving behind. Wall Hang, it's kind of a meme if you I guess if you're using a meme, then go ahead. It's kind of useful sometimes, especially since this gun I always hip fire, so I guess I could use it, but Wall Hang I mostly use in live fire matches with the Cold War, stuff like that. Hover is a meme. I honestly wouldn't recommend using it at all unless you're a Spitfire user, because then it helps you stay still up in the air because you're not on the ground. I don't know. Titan Hunter, I mean, sure, if you want to get in your Titan more, then by all means do that. I honestly would think that Low Profile is like the only one that's, I think it's the most usable one with this loadout, definitely. Execution, do whatever you want, I don't care. But if you want style, I do get to the point. It's really fast, looks cool, and why am I don't care. You do what you want. And of course you gotta have a catchy name, because what good is a loadout if it doesn't have some cool name? Mine, no brainer, Paper Cut Killer, because he doesn't believe that this gun's good, so I like to show him every now and then. that's a call out, Paper. 1v1 me, SMRs. But anyways, that I think wraps up. That's about it for my loadout. I haven't changed much over the time of me using it. The only thing I've changed much is I started with Phase Shift, but then I switched over to Stim because I definitely, like I said, I like that movement. And my grenade, I did start with Arc Grenade and Gravity Star quite a bit, but I do use Frag Grenade and Fire Star now that I've gotten more accustomed to the gun, and I'd suggest you to try the same, start off with something like an Arc Star or a Grav Star. But yeah, that's about it. So that's about all I have to say, but I do want to see what you guys think of this. Let me know what you use with your SMR. What tactical do you use? What stuff do you use with it? Just how do you make it better? And if you don't use it, then I'd suggest you give it a try, and let me know if this video helped you out at all. I'm going to be uploading a full gameplay of me using the SMR as well, and I'm going to probably put some live commentary so you guys can see my thought process when I use it. Let me know if there's any other guns or aspects of the game you want me to cover as well, and let me know what you thought of the video. That's it for me. I'll see you guys next time.
2 down, 6-4.